2.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols,
And I'm Dave Kenny.
and we're here to talk about what goes on in your village councils, your township meetings, those people that make regulations and rules that affect you down the line.
And these are the people that you've elected, probably recently, and the committees and the commissions that they've appointed, and the decisions that they make directly affect you, whether you attend those meetings or not. So this is what we're about.
And sometime it might come back and bite you. Now, that's the humor of this. We do talk about, if you look deep enough, you can see a lot of humor, right?
Haha.
Maybe haha, this. Let's go to the first meeting, shall we?
Okay.
Okay, first meeting was in Addison Township.
Lovely
And
place.
with the board, yep. And Bruce Pearson, of course, is the chair. You know, he's also a town supervisor. And they had several items on the agenda, which, you know, this thing seemed to run out for a while. It was about a 2-hour meeting.
That's
So
pretty
should
long.
we spend 2 hours talking to the audience about this?
I doubt it.
Let's take some shortcuts.
Can you
then.
summarize this in about 50 words or less?
I can.
But
This
you
meeting,
won't.
this meeting is in session. This meeting is adjourned. There, we're done. We'll go on to the next one. No, we can't do that. They had several items that they wanted to talk about, and one thing was the bank investment policy that they have. They had to change some of the companies that we're doing business with in terms of their name, and we'll get to that in just a moment too. So I'm going to sidestep it just for a second.
This is called the hook, folks.
This is called the hook, yes. And first thing they did, of course, is pay their bills. That's what they should do, right? Pay their
Did
bills. They did.
Okay,
They paid their
well.
bills.
I was expecting a surprise.
No, and then they said, well, let's talk about the facility update. You know, because we're going to be building a building, we're going to be addition to this one, or we're going to be changing things internally. And we have talked to 5 different contractors, and we're about to settle on one of these contractors.
But they haven't yet.
No. And they had a special meeting, if you recall, a while back, where they approved having the architect and also Bruce Pearson making that decision,
Okay.
and then, you know, informing the board, you know, what they were going to do. Well, right now they're going through the process of interviews, which they just did, and Bruce said, boy, those meetings were long. He said, but here's the good thing. He said, all of the candidates that we had as far as contractors, he said they were all good. So he said it was hard to make a decision. He said there were some variances in between, like
Right.
some of the pricing was $120,000 difference. So that's
Well,
quite a.
that's a lot. Now, these were sealed bids, right?
These are sealed bids, yes.
Okay.
But they interviewed for a manager, and that's what I'm talking about. A construction manager that will, hit up this process of construction.
Oh,
that's going
so
on.
they've selected the construction company, but now they need a construction manager?
They need a manager now. And the manager, as I said, pointed out, was that Bruce Pearson and the architect will decide on this manager.
But they haven't yet.
They haven't yet. But he said, we're right around the corner from it. He said, next meeting we have, we'll have the information for you. And so they're moving along pretty good. They did discuss how long it would take as far as estimate to completion. And roughly 29 to 30 weeks is what they're projecting.
Wow.
From the time that they start.
Just
So,
over half a year.
Yeah, but they're going to be hustling. There's a lot they have to do, including the parking lot. So,
But no one has actually come up with a physical start date yet.
no start date until they get a contractor manager involved.
Okay, so
And he'll actually work with that schedule and putting it together. Let me see. Oh, fire department. They have a used ambulance that they're attempting to sell. Do you want to buy one?
ooh. Will it still come attached with the siren?
Probably, some of the things are probably taken off from it. I'm not sure if there's a siren on it or not. But they have
With
a
that
couple of rocks you can beat together as you
With that incredible array of lights that blink on and off that scare you half to death when it comes up behind you?
Yeah, they may take those off too. I'm not sure, but there's a company that is a brokerage firm. It's called Fenton Fire Truck Company. Interesting enough. And they sold their boiler truck, or
Boiler?
yeah, or not boiler, tanker truck.
I was going to say. No, we put hot water on the fire.
Yes. Anyhow, they
Well, you got to have a cup of coffee every now and then when you're fighting
that's
fire.
true.
You know.
Yeah, and donuts. Don't forget donuts.
That's true.
But anyway, they they have had a tanker truck. A tanker truck. You might want to take over this conversation. Tanker truck in which they had to get rid of a year or so back, and this company they engaged, to sell it. And what they do is they put out advertising all over the nation, not just locally. And the truck sold rather quickly. And the question was asked, did we get what we asked for the truck? And the fire chief said, we got more. Oh, you got more.
Such is the bidding process.
Bidding process, yes. And so it looks like the ambulance is going to go that route. They're saying that the ambulance is valued somewhere around $20,000 now.
Okay.
And they said, excuse me, by the way,
How old is the thing?
that's a good question. It's not talking.
Oh,
But one of the issues that they have, they said that we have had all kinds of problems with the exhaust system on this truck. It's a diesel. And they said, man, we've had trouble. We got to get rid of this. But it's a really good buy for somebody out there.
the exhaust system.
Exhaust system. Yeah. I used to have a diesel.
Is it a smoker?
Well, all diesels are probably smokers in some way or another. I
Well,
don't know.
true, but some are more than others. But
Yeah. I had a diesel once in my company. Once.
really, Vin Diesel?
Brand new one. I had to do everything in my power to get this thing started in wintertime. It
Oh.
would refuse to start. I had double batteries in it. I had a heating
You could have had a
system.
mule. They refused to start too.
You know how I fixed it?
What?
I made a eunuch out of it. I had the dealer
A
put
eunuch?
a regular Chevrolet engine in it. Take the
Oh.
diesel out.
Oh, really?
Yep, solved my problem. Okay, but that was back then when they were experimenting with diesels, as you would know.
I would.
Well, didn't you work for General Motors?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Was this one of their diesels? They turned a gasoline engine into a diesel.
Yes, it was.
Oh, they had
that was your
problems.
experiment, wasn't it?
They had problems with that.
It was your idea?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Treasurer,
They never asked.
yeah, the treasurer of Addison Township, Lori Fisher, she said that she needed a couple changes in the way they handle the finances in terms of their savings and so forth. She noted that the bank Citizens now is merged, and it's called First Merit Bank. I didn't know that. And the other company that she wanted on the books to be able to make investments is Flagstar Bank and the Michigan Cooperative Investment Firm. So it was agreed that, that's a good thing. But Ed Brakefield, he says, oh, wait a minute now. Hold it. Wait a minute. How come we don't know where this money is going? He said, you're just moving money from point A to point B, and we don't know, how it gets in there, but it somehow arrives. And Lori says, well, what would you like me to do? And he says, well, I'd like to have, a record of this in terms of movement of funds, listed as one of the items, attached to our agenda that we'd have at these meetings. Lori says, hey, that's a good idea. I don't have a problem with that. We can do that. He says, that's what I would like. I said, okay, fine. So that was all agreed on.
You don't get it unless you ask for it.
No, you don't get it unless you ask for it, and he asked for it, and he got it. Okay, they said, is there anything from the audience, from the public?
Probably not. Oh,
There was.
I'm wrong.
Mr. Kosky spoke up.
He was a former supervisor,
Yes.
wasn't he?
He says, I have a letter here. He said that I went to the leader with this letter and wanted to print it, but he said they refused to do it. But he said, I would like to take this letter, and he said, present it to this board so that it will get on record.
What was the content of the letter?
He didn't read it. But they said, yes, they would make sure it got into the reading. So anyway,
So there's this mysterious letter.
a mysterious letter. We may find out down the road exactly what this letter is. But anyway,
If
it is what it
someone
is.
wished to look at the minutes, would that letter be in those minutes?
I would think it's public record. Once you enter it, it's public record.
So if you're curious, folks,
Yeah, let's talk about that when we get back right after
Welcome to
this.
Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our Community Access.
Welcome to my life. We're sitting here with Oxford Village Manager Joe Young.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the first edition of our new program, Schooling Around.
Welcome to Tai Chi.
Good morning. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Yoga. I'm Paul.
Hello, everybody, and once again to Oxford Varsity Basketball tonight with Harrison, Rod Wright, Bill Silvers, Elgin Nichols, and the principal is here.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're talking about Addison Township and the board of trustees. Let's kind of wrap that one up. We'll come to a conclusion here because there was another lady that stood up and she said, what happened with the ZBA meeting and the septic situation? And where the guy wanted a variance, for his septic field. And
Because it was too close to the water.
too close to the water. Got to be within 100 feet. Anyway, Ed Brakefield, I think it was, spoke up and he said, well, I believe, he said that is dependent on the ZBA going out, inspecting the property and seeing if it's justified or not.
Didn't they?
No, they hadn't done that yet at the time of this meeting. But they said that they would do that and would be back, to discuss it at a later date. The ZBA would make that decision soon. Another thing this one lady said is that, hey, there's gunshots all over. Do we have any type of...
and someone said, duh, it's hunting season.
It's hunting season. But she says, they're shooting after dark. Well, Bruce Pearson says they can't do that. Well, they are. Well, the kids aren't out for school bus after dark, but it's still illegal. Well, they're shooting before daylight.
But hunters typically will go out at twilight, either in the evening or in the morning.
But the way the state law reads is that they're not allowed to shoot their weapon or their gun before sunlight and sundown, after sundown.
Is that within Addison Township only, or is that a Michigan law?
That's in Michigan law.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The other thing is that they're supposed to be within 450 feet of a property line, if they're firing a weapon or a gun. But they said it's no surprise.
That's no consolation to someone that knows that a bullet can travel about 1.5 miles to 2 miles.
Exactly, yeah, high velocity. And here's the point. One of the board members said, well, we can't do a whole lot about it, from a township standpoint. And Bruce Pearson said, no, he said, that's a state regulation. They control, the DNR controls all of this. We have no say in it.
So they can't make a regulation that's stiffer than what the state has.
No, and Bruce said, here's what I'll do.
Nor can they make one more liberal.
Who knows what danger lurks?
Well,
that's part of that humor
shadow does.
I'm talking about. Anyway, Bruce pointed out that, I'm going to help you here. I'm going to contact the chief, or the person in charge of the police department here, and the sheriff's department. He said, have a meeting set up where you can discuss state, laws and regulations, what can be done, to protect. So he said, no. He said, get a hold of my office. He said, we'll work it out.
All right.
So, good deal. Let me see what else we got.
Still in Addison?
We're in Addison, but we're going to leave Addison.
We're
going to leave right now.
Get on the bus. We're moving into what?
We're going now into the International Academy of Public Forum that they have.
Everybody get off the bus at the school. Okay, come
Right,
on. Here
at
we go.
the school. Now that's quite a subject because that's been going on for a while. And it's a company from China that wants to build a classroom and dormitory.
That's the Wei Ming Group.
Yes, for about 200 students, I understand, is what they're looking for.
Plus classrooms.
Well, yeah, they're going to have classrooms. And as far as the classrooms go, they are looking for, let me see, they're looking at 2 1,200 square foot classrooms. Mm-hmm. They're looking at 2 918 square foot, looking at 4 900 square foot, and 1 3,100 square foot, which would be a common room for them. And one of the individuals in the audience, one of the residents said, where are they going to put this building? Well, you know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, I know where it's going to go.
Where?
Corner of Ray Road and Oxford Road.
It is. The most logical spot.
Right
She
on
says-
school property.
Well, she says, well, what about the pond? There's a pond there. What are you going to do with it?
That's more of a retention pond, isn't it?
He said, well, we'll probably reduce the retention pond in size somewhat.
That seems a little odd because they're actually putting another building up.
Yeah, and I don't know how they're going to control that, but they are...
Unless the pond was overqualified to start with.
Right. And what's interesting is if they're on school property, then they're subject to all the regulations and rules.
And
that
taxes.
Well, not...
Taxes because of the lease that they've got from the school.
Taxes aren't going to be paid for at least for 2 years according to the agreement. So that's part of the agreement.
With who?
There's a 20-year contract
Who do they make that agreement with? The township?
with the school right now. This is school property.
Well, that's true, but they're leasing it from the school.
Right.
And
And the property is school
and if they're leasing it from the school, shouldn't it be
The
a
property is
township
school.
prerogative to tax them, not the school, to get out?
That's apparently an agreement. Actually, it's worked with the state. The
Oh.
state is working with this project. So it goes a little bit higher than that.
Harumph.
Yeah. But the question was, well, how big is this building going to be? And is there going to be any area green ground, for example, for these kids to go
Frolic.
outside? Or is it going to be asphalt, which is the parking lot, which is the next to? And they said, well, we'll probably plant some trees and, there'll probably be some grass there or whatever, So that's part of it.
I saw and it may be just a preliminary drawing of the building, but it looks like any hotel that you would see going along the road.
No, definitely. Yep. Pretty good sized building.
Yep.
They had a representative from Oakland County for this, and I'm trying to think of his name. Hold that thought, folks. We'll be right back.
Who shall remain nameless?
Who shall remain nameless? You got it. Matt Gibb.
He used to be the supervisor of Orion Township.
Really? I didn't know that.
Didn't he?
I don't know. Anyway, he
so.
was there, and he explained to people.
Maybe it's a different Matt. Maybe it's a different.
Well,
Gibb.
this guy is in charge of the county economic
Maybe
development.
it's Gibbs from NCIS. I don't know. No.
This, you watch too much TV. This guy is the economic development
Person.
mucky muck guru, great kahuna.
Lawyer.
That guy. Yeah, he probably is. But
He is.
He actually lives on Lake Orion, and he had to leave early, because his son was going to be involved in something Lake Orion had going on. But anyway, he spoke, and he said that it is a project that would be surely invited, by the county. That the county, Oakland County, has 1,400 multinational firms, the largest of any county in Michigan and in the United States.
In the United States?
In the United States.
Wow.
The next number that they have is 300, and that's in the county Fairfax in Virginia. 300. So he said, for example, if you go to Troy,
We're turning into a real cosmopolitan area.
he said if you go to Troy, there's a lot of Chinese and so forth, different groups in Troy. So for some reason, and we're advocating you put this in Oxford because of the versatility of this, but if you don't put it in Oxford, it's going to go somewhere. In other words, it could go to Troy.
I understand Troy also has an international academy.
It does, but nothing like what they're talking about doing here.
Right.
So with that, let's take a break and we'll be back right after this.
Hi there. My name is Kathy Ritter and I represent the American Red Cross in the Oxford and Lake Orion area. I hope you are all well and preparing for a wonderful holiday season. I wanted to share some information with you regarding the donation of blood during this busy time. Thanksgiving and Christmas are normally very hard on our blood supply. The main reason is that so many of us are busy with festivities that we just don't make the time to donate blood. Well, I'm here to ask you to please please don't forget about donating blood during the holidays. It would be great to say that illness will wait until the holidays are over, but that's just not the case. There are still many, many people who are waiting to receive life-saving blood. So why not give the gift of life this holiday? It's the best gift you can give and the best gift to receive. Take a look at all the blood drives in the month of December. Everyone who comes to donate will receive a $10 Honey Baked Ham coupon as a thank you for all that you do. Choose a drive that works best for you and make an appointment. You'll be so glad you did. Wishing you and your family a joyous, peaceful, and healthy holiday. See you soon.
Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. Take off your hat, throw it in the corner. I don't see why you stay a little longer. I'm talking about Boozoo. Ooh, Boozoo, that's who. Hey, oh yeah, come on down. Stay a little longer.
Welcome back, Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're talking about the international forum that they've got going for the Chinese group that wants to build a building.
And the nice residence that they're going to build for 200 of them, I believe.
Yep. And the question is, well, who's going to pay for the building? They are.
Oh, the question that
Who's
I
going to
had
pay
was,
for the property?
well,
rental.
where are these kids staying now? There are Chinese students that are here. Are they just living with families or what?
They're with families now.
Okay.
And the problem with that, as they pointed out, is that a lot of the families that have taken these kids are kind of worn out because they're repetitive. They do it all the time, have
Well,
been doing it for years.
It's the old story, folks. When you volunteer for one thing, you get sucked with everything.
You do. And so they're looking for a better solution, to this. And this seems to be the route that they want to take. So it will be an interesting project. There's pro or con if you believe in it or you don't. There's a very interesting bunch of statistics with it that was pointed out by the gentleman, Matt Gibb, from the county. Let me see. There's some savings too, and they talked about that. They talked about, they had discussed during their contract having a 75-year contract. They settled on 20 years. People want to know, is everything nailed in concrete right now or granite? And he said, no, it's not. They're making revisions to it now. And they said, why isn't that information being released to the public? And they said, because we're under negotiation, it doesn't make sense at this point to provide that information.
Hopefully that'll all be revealed before they actually sign the document.
Right. And here's the thing. One person stood up and they said, excuse me, what? Do we, as residents, we get to vote on this? Like we had to vote for the tennis court and things like that.
Tennis?
For the tennis courts. When they
That
went
was
in.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I know. But they had to vote for it for taxes.
Oh.
And they said we had to vote for it, but are we going to get to vote for this? And the assistant superintendent that was there, and his name is Tim Thorne, said no, you don't get to vote on it. That decision is made by your elected school board. They will make that decision for you, according to state law and regulation, and voting.
Being the
rights.
Republican
It's
form of
gonna be
government that
theirs.
we are.
Yeah, right. So that was the end of that portion of it, and it will go on for a while. I think they're going to have another forum yet. So
That'll be the fourth one.
lots to be said. One last thing I wanted to talk about quickly, and that is the Zoning Board of Appeals for the village. There's an interesting situation that evolved. It's with Dale Walicki, who is next to 57 North Washington Street.
That's
and
Mr. Wilson's property, isn't it?
Mr. Wilson's property is 57 North Washington. He's attempting to buy it, but he's having some real issues, with his neighbor who doesn't like the idea that they're now traveling the driveway in between, because according to the planning commission that was not to happen, but it's happening anyway. There's all kinds of different questions that came up in this meeting, And so Mr. Walicki brought his attorney along, John
You lawyered
Crane. Yeah, John Crane, yeah. Yeah, they even had a, what do they call him, person that's doing?
Stenographer.
Stenographer. They had one of those people that taking all the words that everybody was saying. There's 12 points that were presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals Board. One of them was a question in which they had to answer the ZBA board, which said, was there a problem with the conditions that were approved by the Planning Commission? They were reviewed, accepted. Administratively, was that the proper approach? And that was one of the questions. Another one was...
And what was the answer?
Well, there's a lot. All 12 answers were given, and I'm going to summarize that real quick at the end here, if you don't mind.
Of course not.
Okay.
In 20 words.
And they said that property is non-conforming. We will agree it is non-conforming, and that means that there's certain requirements prior to ownership or occupancy to that building, and those were all worked out, according to our consulting company. They were all worked out and agreed upon, and the Planning Commission followed the ordinances and regulations in place to make those decisions. And they went through...
Mr. Walicki notwithstanding.
Oh, no. This is their last ditch. Well, they can take it to circuit court after this. And the only thing is, based on what goes on in the community, I don't think their odds are very good. It's just going to be a good way for Mr. Walicki to spend more money. It's unfortunate that it has to take this approach.
Right.
Guess what? I'm glad I'm not on the zoning board. Yeah. So anyway, all
Free at
12
last.
all 12 issues were addressed, and all 12 issues, Mr. Walicki was told the Planning Commission did everything right all the way down the line. So they approved based on the record and testimony that was given at this particular meeting. They approved what the Planning Commission did, that they did no wrong, that they operated, within their abilities and rights to do.
But
What do we have coming up?
Mr. Walicki's property is not being encroached upon.
No.
Okay. In any case, we do have a lot of meetings coming up. On 12/2 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission. On 12/3 at 6:30, the Oxford Board of Education will meet at the board offices. And on 12/5 at 6:30, that's the holiday sweet and soup stroll at 6:30. And following that, at 8 o'clock, the Christmas tree lighting. Be there for see that, folks. That would be in Centennial Park, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Okay. And on 12/6 at 2 p.m., the Christmas parade. You'll see me and Elgin just freezing to death and holding our banner up.
He'll be hiding behind the banner. He'll be there. But
And that evening at 7 o'clock, the Classic Chorale will be performing at the Oxford Free Methodist Church. And at 12/8 at 7 o'clock, Oxford Township ZBA. And at 7 o'clock that same day, Village of Leonard Council. And on 12/9 at 7 o'clock, Oxford Township Parks and Rec. 7:30, Addison Township Parks and Rec. And at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council. Are you still on that?
no, I'm off.
You've faded to
I'm
gray.
off. I faded into the sunset.
Who was that masked man?
Hey, you said, boy, we're into the middle of December on
That's
these
right.
meetings already.
Time sure passes fast.
You had your Christmas shopping done yet?
Not a thing.
You didn't make it to Black Friday?
I stayed away.
I mean, both. You didn't catch Black Friday on the internet?
I saw those people wrestling over TV sets.
Why would they do that? I don't know.
I think it's a sport.
You think so?
Yeah, pretty soon we'll have referees there.
I would have thought you would have been there for sure.
Nope, not me.
Well, we'll talk about it later. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
We'll catch you next time on Minutes by Minute.
See you then.
Yeah. Christmas, I can see him poking some little lady, pushing her off the...
Here we are in front of American Legion Post 108 in Oxford. Now, every Friday between 12 and 8:30, they serve up some of the best fish in Michigan. Follow me inside. We're going to take a look around the post. All right, here we are now on the Hull side of the post, where you can get tables for anywhere to 6 to 30 people. And before or after you're done eating, take a walk around and browse through the second largest military museum in the state of Michigan. All right, now we're over on the restaurant side of the post, where Most of the fun happens, as you can see behind me. They've got darts, pool tables, 50-50 raffles, and any kind of fish you can think of, bait cod, walleye, combo plates, all right here at your beck and call.